Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. As she has said already, I will be discussing on language barrier that can lead to non-reconciliation and importance of language and good use of language. And it will be based on the case of CICADA, Central Kalahari Game Reserve, that I will be referring as CICADA on my presentation. One of
Could you shift that adjuster slightly?
Thank you. One of the Sun leaders once a time said, if you communicate to me in my language, I will help you better. But if you communicate with me in a language that I understand, how can I help you? Who is Kaka Kamaka? He is a Sun leader who stays in Dika. And this statement, it shows that language is very important. It connects us. It brings everything together. Language is our means of expressing ourselves, and it can be extremely unpredictable because we never know what language can mean. We can misunderstand it and we can use it improperly. But understanding the language of the community is the main pathway towards understanding the culture of that community. Because the guy who is in the picture, he can properly speak the language of that community, which is Kwekwe, and he knows better you can see? Okay. He knows better the culture of that community because of importance of language. Understanding the language of the community can bring people together. It can build strong bonds between the two. So there was a case, it was a very famous case. Many researchers came, many reporters came to this case. It happened in Botswana. It was the most famous case that happened in Botswana. It happened at Central Kalahari Game Reserve. The San were relocated from their place, from their territory to the different place forcefully. So the CKJR is the land of the Gli and the Ghana, but they were forcefully evicted from that land to outside next to that place. So this is the map of CKJR. Here is the map of Botswana. Then in the middle is CKJR, and those are the places who belong to CKJR. And this is the map of CKJR. The unlawful eviction of CKJR people during negotiation, people were relocated forcefully without agreements. Their houses were destroyed, boreholes were sealed so that they cannot have water, and they don't have choice, they just have to move. They were tortured and their lives were threatened because the army were dispatched and fully armed, and they were installment of shoot to kill in order when San were hunting and the military found them in the bush, they just killed them. The San argued in the CKJR that they have the full rights to the land as they lived there, and their ancestors, they are there and they have lived there before as far as many years. So, but the government have already started evicting them from that land. So this case is a good example of miscommunication of language, because there was no good communication. And when the government goes there to the fields, the officials, they just tell these people different things because they were, as you have seen in the map, they were staying in different places in CKGR. They were telling them different things and they started fighting themselves. And also the language they used, there were translators and the mediators between them. But the mediators, the translators, they couldn't translate what the people are saying because it was very heated issue. And these people were joking anything they can. So the government couldn't know that because the translators couldn't even say that to the government. Up to this day, the San in CKGR have not reconciled with the government because they don't trust them. So in the village of Dika, where we came from with Job, there's one of the San owned land. We have an organization that have started and have made an orthography to ensure that people learn the language and to communicate well. So that everyone, either from the government, either from outside researchers, they are just welcome to learn that language so that they can communicate well with people from that environment. In a nutshell, understanding the language of a community is a potential to enhance better conflict resolution because you can be able to talk and resolve issues and conflicts that you have between you. When language is not known, then culture of the community will not be well understood, and that can create conflicts, as it happened in the case of CKGR. Thank you. I know you were expecting something again.
The coffee will come in a while. So are there any questions? Colin? And John?
So,
Can I ask something? I'm just struggling to hear most of your accent, so
Yes.
just speak slowly.
Speak slowly and loudly.
Your premise about the power of communication, I think, is incontestable. But generally, when we think about miscommunication, it's in a context where people are trying to communicate in the first place, and they misunderstand one another. And you've described a very violent episode, or a very violent period, in which I would almost think there was no desire for communication on the part of the people who were shooting Sam, torturing, shooting. And it reminds me of a story I heard many years ago. I mean, it doesn't seem so long ago to me, but to you it would. So it was about 1990.
Yes.
And I was at the Australian Institute for Torres Strait, for Australian Institute for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Studies. And I was talking to this Aboriginal researcher who had been gathering stories from a variety of Aboriginal groups in outback Australia, remote parts of Australia. And she talked about, now this is a period when Australians think that they're trying to communicate with Aborigines and they're trying to set in place reconciliation. So the idea was people have to tell their painful stories if we're going to have reconciliation. But she said, the old people usually will not talk to me. And she said the reason is, this was a recent, like as late as the early 1960s, Aborigines in outback Australia were still being shot, and white ranchers were not being prosecuted. In the 1950s, early 60s, within my lifetime, this was happening. And she said they will not talk because they are afraid that they will be punished. If they tell the truth about what was done to them, it will provoke a further offensive against their communities. So I think you're dealing with layers of power, of recent historical memory that complicate the problem of communication. You know, I guess it's a comment, but I'd be interested in how you would respond to that.
The government uses its power and influences the decisions of people, and it also fears them, threatens them. So even if they don't understand what had been said, they can go to the offices or to the government and raise all those issues. And also to just no confidence, they don't have that confidence, that enough confidence just to stand and talk what they want. So the government used this strategy because it was overpowering those people and they didn't have a say.
I think John had a question, and then Michael, and then Manu.
So, thank you for that presentation. It was very interesting. We've been reading about the Central Kalahari game case for a long time. I'm glad to meet somebody who was involved. Language. I know there is great diversity, many differences between the different languages of the mixed speakers. Was part of the problem that the mixed speakers themselves, the San speakers, were speaking different languages themselves?
These people, they were speaking Twi and Ghana. These are the two groups that are staying in the same place. So the government, like in that map, there's Mulapotadi, all those places. They speak two languages, and the government can go to the other group of people and say, we have to relocate you, we will give you something, this, and also to the others. So the others just feel like these are the buyers, they are sellers, and they want to give the government our territory.
Do they speak one another's language, the two groups? Or are they bilingual and understand one another? Or
They understand one another.
They do.
They just overlap. They are similar but different.
I see. And so if they speak one language, does the other group understand?
Yes.
I see.
Because they are staying in the same place. They grew up together, and those two languages are not too much different.
I see.
They are just similar, they just differ in few things.
Michael?
I agree with your point, the points you made. But I also wonder whether it's also not true that even where people are speaking the same language, communication, especially when you have power relations competing interests, government on one side, communities on the other, that sometimes even within the same language system, communication can be a problem in the manner that we've discussed here. I think that's, yeah. In other words, often when policy makers, policy actors purport to speak nowadays, basically the same language about equity, sustainability, and so on, and they are talking with communities and appearing to be actually having the same interests, but they still, there are variants. In other words, communication is a problem, and you are right. Communication is the basis on which you can be able to come to agreement and reconcile. But communication is not just a language problem. It's possible to miscommunicate, to use your word, even using the same language.
Yes. Thank you. Like he said, even here, when someone talks here in English, just because maybe he's speaking the accent that I can't understand, I can misunderstood him. And that can be a barrier to what you are saying and what is the aim. So that's what happened.
Thank you very much for a wonderful presentation, and I will speak very slowly so that you can understand well.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to understand better who was communicating the misunderstood messages. Who was communicating with these people?
The officials, they come to the people, to the elders of the people from that place, and they have to come with the translators, because those people, they don't understand Tswana and English, and that person has to translate. So what happens is, when somebody translates a heated issue, he can't translate everything. He will have to left out some issues that he can't tell the official, and that's inappropriate.
So who are these translators? Where do they come from? Are they from the same community, another community, or from the government side? And why they didn't want to communicate the way people are talking?
These people were, the government came with them. They were not from the government, they were not from the that community. So they were translating, they were not taking sides even. So the thing is just communication and the use of a language. So this case, when I am angry and I just say my feelings, you can't translate that well, even if you are not siding with me or you are not siding with the government.
And also in addition to that, if I may, when the government comes with translators, they also come with young people who they have already recruited and told that they will have good things, money and all that kind of stuff. So they're on their side. We have cases of young people who are from those villages who have been helping actually the government to influence or try to tell those elders that it is important to go to the new resettlement. So within those villages also, these different villages, there has been a problem between that villages maybe having government services, government is favoring them. So there has been conflicts because of the unfair treatment that government is kind of giving to these communities to make sure that they have conflicts amongst themselves.
It's a case of manipulation.
Yeah. A strategic way to make sure that there's no social harmony.
No, I was just going to ask, but I think that was just answered, whether these people who were translating, trying to mediate, whether they became in conflict with their own communities of having failed them or misled them, or whether you started to see conflict between the generations, for example, since it seems that the negotiation was tried to be between the elders, if I understand correctly, using young people, trying to influence the elders. Did that produce in the communities conflict between elders and the young people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you maybe? Yes, please.
Yes, it created conflicts because those young people, they will come to their grannies maybe or their relatives, sorry, and tell them all those good things, and they will agree. And the other ones will be straight. They will tell people, no, don't do this. We don't have to, we just have to stay here. So that builds conflict throughout.
So what the current status in that case? And you said about this case is much written and studied. Did those translators hold accountable to what they did?
Pardon?
That what's the current status? Are the people, do people now understand the language of those people? Because I saw somewhere that there's some initiatives now where the language is being documented,
Yes.
written.
Yes.
I don't know that for whose benefit, for the people benefit, or for the outsider to understand the language of the people. That's one. But also, you say that this is a famous case and it has been studied a lot. Do those translators hold it accountable by misleading the government officials by not communicating well what the local people are saying?
This orthography that was created is from Naro language. It's not from CICADA languages. It's a different language. So these are the developments that the same people are doing so that others can see from them how to develop their language. So the Tui and the Ghana, they're still on the way, maybe developing their own. In this case, it was on court for more than 20 years. So the same people won it. So Job will help me on, he knows better about the case. He will tell us how the translators and the people were charged.
Well, yeah, the relocation idea really started around 1990, I think. That's when it started. People trying to be relocated, and then in 2002, that's also when it becomes more heated, and that's when the translators also were misbehaving, just if I put it that way, trying to influence people. I know of young people who now are regretting the situation that they're not on the government. And currently, I'm a little bit involved with a project that is trying to implement some way of helping CICADA residents, because there are some who are actually now living there, although there are some basic services that have been removed and denied to them. Even though they are sealed, as a strategy to make sure that they don't stay there. So what's happening now is, since 2013, the government has denied or refused for, even if they have won the case repeatedly, every time that they have been litigated, they're actually now, ignoring the court order that they should provide water and basic services to the residents of the CICADA. Now, what's happening is some people who are coming in now to actually negotiate with the government, and in the process of negotiating, involving the local government and also the Ministry of Tourism and Land, also the Ministry of Land and Housing, and different ministries that are, even the Ministry of Tourism. And those delegates from local, from community, actual representatives, when the only local government attended, but it wasn't the minister, delegated some permanent secretary to be there, and it was not fruitful. And now negotiations are on the way to actually open up the borehole to give water to the people, and still there's been problem. it's if the government is still refusing, there's possibility for litigation.
And the government, after relocating people, it went and made a mining in that place and a big resort in that place because their interest to relocate those people was because of the mining that they discovered in that place. So this is why this was so forceful and so harsh, maybe.
So we're really out of time now, I think, for questions. Maybe one last question, if anyone would like to ask.
If anyone wants to know more, we can meet dinner time, I can explain.
You just go to the last slide.
Huh?
The last slide was perfect.
The drink.
With
So
your coffee.
please give